NTV.
It is gratifying to still have you on this morning show. We're live from Kampala's Senate Conference Center. It's morning at NTV. Now, let's talk about land. Yes, you and I are always looking at how we buy land, how much land we have. Now, land use in Uganda is administered through both statutory and customary law as stipulated in the 1995 Constitution and the 1998 Land Act as amended. Now, the majority of the land holding in Northern Uganda operating under customary tenure. Now, despite this, land conflicts are not an alien situation in Northern Uganda. To help us understand what is at play, we have Xavier Ejoy, Country Director of the ActionAid Uganda, to make us understand this. It's so great to have you, Mr. Xavier, this early morning.
Thank you.
Now, I understand you have studied this area and found that there have been quite a lot of several conflicts, for instance, between the districts, say in a Par district, or Juman and Noya, but also between sub-counties. We want to understand what is causing this disharmony in the various administrative structures here, and what could be the placeable solutions to this.
So first of all, I want to say that thank you for this opportunity. As we speak now, ActionAid and a number of other partners, including the Ministry of Lands, the Aluru Kingdom, and other civil society organizations, both at the national and the regional level, are having the Land Awareness Week, or what we call Law 2020, focused on West Nile. It's actually focused on land rights security for socioeconomic development. Now, in West Nile, it focuses on raising awareness on land rights and the role of different stakeholders and how they can be held accountable for the services that they deliver relating to land. Now, as you know, land is at the center. I want to start by saying that land is at the center of socioeconomic development. But land is also, for Ugandans, a heritage. Yes. It is their identity. It is something we know in economics that is a factor of production, but it is identity for many people. It is what they hold on to. And so, as a result of that, it means that securing their rights to the land is very important. Now, the Constitution of Uganda and the land laws of Uganda provide land in the hands of the people. They say that it is land belongs to the people. And that is very significant and a very progressive stand that our Constitution took. Now, in lieu of that, there are very different dynamics in the use of land, in the ownership of land that come to play. And as a result, conflicts arise. Conflicts arise. The important thing is that what are the measures in place and structures in place to resolve conflicts? Where do these conflicts come from? Conflicts come from boundary disputes. Conflicts come from administrative boundaries, disputes over administrative boundaries, such as districts, sub-counties, even at international level. You know, speaking West Nile,
we have the Mijingo Island issue.
Mijingo Island issue, but there's also between Adjumani Moyo and South Sudan. We have on Lake Albert, a number of fishermen in Uganda have been killed over disputes over that land, international and so on. So you find that that dispute is going on. But you also have dispute between land users. People who own land are settled on land, and maybe speculators who, especially around the oil basin in around Lake Albert, where speculators have gone to buy land so that they can be compensated later on, and has led to displacement of different people who were settled on that land. And that is the essence of land dispute. So it's an array of land dispute that goes on, from administrative, from individual, from families to communities. Some take ethnic dimensions, and some between indigenous people and the multilateral companies that are investing in agricultural production and so on. So that's a broad spectrum of how land conflict affects.
Could culture, in one way or the other, be one of the pushing factors that are bringing about the disharmony with regards to land usage or land ownership, especially in the northern part of the country?
Yeah, culture contributes, but it's not really a primary cause of the conflict per se.
Okay.
As you're aware, 70 to 80% of the land in Uganda is held under customary tenure. And especially the majority of the land in northern Uganda is under customary land tenure. Now, what does that mean? Customary tenure simply means that the land is owned communally, is owned by the dead, the living, and the yet to be born.
Oh, yes.
And we know that the customary law per se is not written down, it has some ambiguities in it, but also in the land ownership especially, it is ascribes greater rights to ownership, if not complete ownership rights to the male. It is to the husband or the man, it is to the sons. And as a result, you find that more than 80% of the land in Uganda is owned by men, and yet majority of the land is used by women. Very contradictory.
So why do men own land they're not using?
Again, that is the unfairness of the cultural practices that we inherit, and it's to an extent the unfairness in the cultural structures that we have in Uganda today. So when we're talking about land owners, we're also talking about equality, even in the cultural traditions.
Oh, yes.
That and when you are ascribing now resolution of dispute to an institution or a cultural setting such as that, we need to, especially as actors, look out for who has been left behind. And women left behind need to be spoken for and need to be provided the platform to advance their rights on land ownership. The children need also to be provided for the space to be able to respond to the land dispute. So this Land Awareness Week provides a platform for different actors to come into play and provide information, but also interact with the different stakeholders, men, women, communities, and the cultural institution to interact and really, from a legal point of view, provide awareness, from an ownership and user point of view, also enhance the rights that are subscribed in
With
the
the change
laws.
of times, Xavier, times have changed. We are in the digital age, we're in the 21st century. What becomes of a woman who has her land, like she bought it by herself, like she owns it, and the title deed has her name? Is it mandatory that when she passes on, still this land is going to go to a male? Have we got to that level, or do we need to change that kind of perspective and narrative that she could just choose to pass it on to her daughter? It's not necessarily because she still has a boy child, it has to go to a boy child.
No. Again, it's really the interpretation of laws here. The laws are very clear on how you can pass on land, the inheritance law, and so on. However, the attitudes, I must say, the norms and attitudes of people, we all understand as Africans especially, and in Uganda. And that's something that needs to change. That by essence, a heir or somebody who takes on property.
It's not mandatory to be a boy.
It's not mandatory.
Thank you.
It's not mandatory to be a boy. It can't be any.
Because God gave me girls only. They are the ones I have.
Exactly.
So what do I look for another relative who is a male?
It does not have to be a male. I know there are cultures where this is something that is very big, but really it doesn't have to be. It's really up to you to say that I have children, and the girls are also your children.
Oh, yes.
So
they have a right to
have the right to
inherit.
And you know, it's very unfair for the girls not to own land or inherit land from their father, or their mother, and yet when they get married, they can also not own land from that side, because they'll say this one here is a visitor, this one is being married. That's very unfair. And yet they use the land, majority of the land is used by them, and so that is something that really needs to be changed in the minds of Ugandans, and the law provides for it, but you know, the traditions and cultures, the attitudes need to be changed to conform to really, it's not really something that is abstract, it is something that is real, and especially as the women and the girls are involved in production and use of land, that is something that really needs
So the
to
inclusion women have in the usage of land and production of land, it should be directly proportional to the wave of inheritance.
It's first of all, it goes beyond inheritance. Women should be able to own land. And the institutions, whether they're cultural, whether they are statutory institutions, need to provide for that and provide for access to land, ownership and use and management by women as much as to men. So it should be an equal ground for the ownership of land.
Well, what about the disputes between residents, especially where we have seen the whole villages evicted? What can be done in that kind of scale, especially in Northern Uganda? We have seen like 3 villages evicted by one person.
Yeah, and that is a big concern. We've seen that in different places. In Northern Uganda, of course, we've seen that in Apa, that
yes.
at the center of the conflict there.
There's a big conflict.
We've seen that in Zombo district, where a multinational company is using land there.
Yeah.
We've also seen that in Chirandongo. We've seen that in Masindi, in contestations over land in Bunyoro, and so on. The focus should really be on the as I said at the beginning, our constitution, our land act, and different other land laws and policies provide the Ugandan, the citizen, the right to land. So whoever wants to access that land, whether it's an individual, whether it's a company, really needs to focus on acquiring it the legal way and respecting the rights of those who own it and those who are using it. And the law provides clear direction for that. Is if the land is customarily owned, if it is communally owned, accessing that land and getting access to use of that land necessarily means that you have to engage with the community and go through the processes. We know that Ugandans are able to engage and provide the right to use and transfer that use to another person. However, we've seen many individuals who are connected.
They come with guns, they come with
guns, they come with authority, they come with letters,
yes,
with cheats. They come and intimidate and say, I was sent by so and so, the head of state, the minister, and so on, and so I need 9,000 acres of land here.
And he's taking off.
And he's taking off. That please. The Ugandans are not against your ownership of land or the transfer of that land. Just go through them, because our constitution says the land belongs to the people. So it's important that the state institutions enforce the law. The police, the courts, and the different agencies ensure that whoever wants land for use accesses it the right way, from under the different tenures. If it's under freehold, they know how to access it. If it is under customary ownership, they also know how to access it. Okay. So that is really how the first basic thing that needs to be done.
Okay, if you could foresee an ideal harmonious situation for residents, what does it look like, and what will it cost for it to be possible? Like when we are in a harmonious kind of environment where I can sell land and you can sell land and everyone is happy, and possibly I'm a multinational company, I've come to invest in that particular village, and everyone is harmonious. What could be the ideal situation?
The ideal situation would be that, first of all, a lot of the land in Uganda is not registered.
Okay.
A majority of the land, over 75% of the land in Uganda is not registered. And some people drive by and they see square miles of land. They say, oh, there are no people here, so I could come and start something here. No, that land has a history to it. It has people who are on that land. And so it is important for the different land actors, number one, to ensure that the land is registered. It's surveyed, it's registered, and so it is known clearly which land belongs to which owner, whether that owner is an individual, a corporate entity, or it is an
individual,
a community, and land can be owned by community, as you just saw. So that's the first thing that needs to be done. So the Ministry of Lands, together with the partners, should ensure that land in Uganda is registered. Secondly, is what we're trying to do through this Land Awareness Week. The people need to be made aware of their land rights, so that no one can come with a gun, with a letter, and say that, you know what, I'm supposed to own this land, or they start putting containers and erecting a fence, pouring sand and bricks, and the next day a building is coming up and you don't know where it's coming from. So Ugandans need to know their land rights, that whoever comes to access their land, what they should come with, and the authority that they come with, it must be very clear, and it's not through dubious ways. So that is an environment where, if Ugandans are aware of their land rights, what is due to them, and then they're able to defend their land rights, whether it's through legal processes and discourses, or even through championing, through community engagement and dialogue and so on. So we're foreseeing that point in time when Ugandans are aware of their land rights. That is the ideal situation. The disputes are solved through dialogue or through arbitration or through litigation and so on. That's really the ideal, and not through violence.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That is Mr. Xavier from, of course, Xavier Enjoy, the country director of the ActionAid Uganda. You and I need to know your right, especially about land. 70% of Uganda not being registered. Today, just take a reflective, you know, kind of approach. If you have land, go back and look at your title deed, go in the land board and confirm that it's legit or you own that land. If you've not registered it, have it registered. We'll be back shortly. This is Morning at NTV.